Up there is the pristine red planet Mars, where no living thing has ever existed. But of course, one man has a plan to change all of that. Elon Musk. You may know him as the founder of PayPal or as the founder of Tesla, but more pertinent to this video, he's the founder of SpaceX, a rocket company which he founded for that exact purpose, to get us, people, to Mars. But how does he plan to do this? Well, he's already commenced this plan, starting with reusable rockets. And to illustrate, I have with me Falcon 9, well, a pen, but to illustrate the point, we'll use this pen as the Falcon 9. So when a Falcon 9 launches, it goes up, and actually it starts going horizontally. So as it goes horizontally, the first stage separates from the second stage. So this is the most expensive part, the first stage of the rocket. The second stage isn't actually that expensive. And so the first stage usually just burns up or just is basically trash. But what Elon Musk wants to do with reusable rockets is to use this first stage again. So what he does is when they separate, this one goes and does the mission, the second stage, and the first stage comes back down on Earth and lands. And so with that, since this is the majority of the cost of a rocket, he can save tons of money and reduce the overall cost of space travel.
So right now you're looking at the first stage landing, and that first stage is actually the most expensive part of the rocket. So if we can salvage the first stage, or SpaceX can salvage the first stage and then reuse the first stage, they're going to save a ton of money. Actually, Elon Musk has said that there could be upwards of 100-fold savings increase. And so this is vitally important. And a metaphor that Musk likes to use is, what if we didn't reuse our jumbo jets, which cost upwards of $300 million? Imagine how much plane tickets would cost. Well, it's really the same principle with these rockets. If we can reuse such a vitally important part of the rocket, then the costs are going to go way down. And this is going to open up the space to a lot more people. And, well, it's going to, of course, allow Musk to go ahead with his plans of sending people to Mars.
And he plans to use this technology this year in 2016. He said that in August or September is when he wanted to first try this reusable technology. So that's really exciting. But what's perhaps more exciting is that in 2018, he wants to send a Dragon version 2. So that's his capsule where he can carry cargo and where he can carry people. He wants to send one with presumably some sort of payload to Mars in 2018. That's incredible. And even more incredible is the timeline for when he wants to start sending people. So he wants to start doing that in 2024, the first mission to send people. And before that, he actually wants to send a mission in 2018 and every 2 years consecutively. So 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2024 is when presumably the first people are gonna go to Mars.
But actually before all this, before Musk sends people to Mars and before he sends the Dragon version 2, what he's calling the Red Dragon, to Mars in 2018, he plans to talk about his plan a little bit more, in more detail. And he plans to talk about this year, actually, in September, at the International Aeronautical Congress. So right there, he's going to talk about his plans for building a ginormous rocket. I'm talking about the largest rocket in history. Musk is going to build the largest rocket in history. And so this rocket's going to be so big that it's going to be able to put, according to Musk, over 100 metric tons on Mars. Now, that's completely insane. So, like I said, he wasn't going to take people in Dragon version 2 to Mars, but this rocket is going to be capable of taking up to 100 people at a time, according to Musk. So he may actually adjust this to more people. We won't know until September, but that's really incredible. So he has to have this huge rocket that he's gonna start sending people to Mars with, and that's gonna be really, really exciting in September when he releases that. So expect another video in September talking about that rocket and also about the Mars Colonial Transporter, which is the whole system of how he's gonna do it, because he also talked about establishing a supply line. So remember I said that every 2 years in 2018, 2020, 2022, So in those years, he wants people, scientists, to send, experiments up to Mars, and maybe even start sending some of the base or something. He'll talk about it more in detail.
But now what are Musk's ultimate plans? Once he gets the really big rocket in function, and once he works out all the kinks, as I'm sure there will be, for such a huge plan. The Apollo mission cost hundreds of billions of dollars to carry out, so Musk is going to have to really do some cost cutting with the reusable rockets, and I'm sure a lot of other things are going to have to be a lot less expensive to actually get this in the works. So what are his long-term plans after he sends the people to Mars in 2024? Well, what he's actually planning to do is make a self-proclaimed city on Mars. He said he wants to have a self-sustaining city, and that's going to require a population of about, according to him, about 1 million people. So he wants to send 1 million people to Mars, and he wants to do this relatively quickly because he said he wants to retire on Mars. So presumably there would have to be a self-sustaining city by the time he's 70 years old. So in a relatively short amount of time, according to Musk, his plans are to have a self-sustaining city on Mars by the time he's 70. That's absolutely insane. And yet Musk has done a lot of the things that he said he was going to do. So we'll just have to wait and see how this plays out. But potentially this could be the beginning of a new era for space.